Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen.
And I'm John Johnson.
And you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. The podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are celebrating our Christmas spirit a little bit late.
We're sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
we had everything ready to go, and some people got sick. We won't mention names.
Yeah, Matt got sick. What are you going to do?
But that's okay. We appreciate y'all putting up with it, but we're still going to get you what you voted on. Today we've got our voters poll for the holiday. What brings the holiday cheer issue of through the choices from our Patreon poll. Blah, can't talk.
Yes, like John was trying to say, we had a Patreon poll, and the book Klaus won, which is by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. Had you ever heard of this book, John?
No, I don't think so. I know there was an animated movie, but I don't think they were related.
Oh, was there?
I think so. Yeah, I remember
of this?
It was a couple years ago. There was Klaus, and it was like kind of like Origins of Santa, I think, but it wasn't. I double checked it. Like I was like, is that the Santa? It wasn't based on this comic.
Well, that's what I just asked. I said of this, and you were like, yeah, no. So it wasn't of this. It was just called Klaus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I don't know if you're supposed to pronounce it Klaus or Claus, because it's spelled Klaus. So I'm going to say Klaus, but. Yeah. So I heard about this. I don't remember when, I saw it on the shelves or whatever, but I heard about this from one of the guys at my comic book store, and I was like, "Oh, we're thinking about reading that." And he was like, "Oh, it's great. You'll love it." I couldn't put it down. I think me and him have very different tastes. I'll say that. But yeah. So. We put this on the poll. It won. I don't remember what the other stuff was on the poll. Just more Christmas stuff.
Yeah, it was more holiday. I think we had what do we have on there? We had The Last Christmas, Krampus, and Zombie Christmas Carol.
There you go. So a little bit more kind of different stuff on there. This is probably the most Christmassy thing, directly. But yeah, it's Grant Morrison, so I kind of had high expectations, as he is a fairly good writer that I mostly enjoy. And then Dan Mora's art, he's a very good artist, so I like him a lot. And I was kind of interested to see what he came up with. And I think his art was probably my favorite part of this book. But yeah, so let's just get straight into it. This book, like we said, it's called Klaus. It's by Boom Studios, and it's not exactly what it sounds like. It's not a story about Santa Claus, or at least the one This is a different type of origin story. Is that what it would be called?
I guess so. It's not like the old claymation animated how Santa Claus became. He's definitely a wildernessly beast of a man that it definitely is loosely
right, but also the whole I guess what the thing of this is it could be the actual story, and then over the years it morphed into whatever it became, or something. But I don't know, I didn't really find it to be that morphable into what we know now.
No, this seems like it would be a specific region Santa Claus. They have, different Santa Claus stories from around the world. This feels like it would be a Nordic, or somewhere up in the cold areas of the world.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense. But so it starts off with our guy Klaus. He is, I guess you call him a wilderness man. He just lives in the wilderness. He's not a barbarian, because he's actually from this town. What's the name of the town?
It is Grimsvig.
Yeah, Grimsvig. It's the kingdom of Grimsvig or something. Um, so, but I guess he lives in the woods outside of the walls of the city, and um, he one day decides to go to the city, and that's kind of where it starts. They don't really give a reason why, and like
He's got skins and furs and meat to trade.
yeah, but you would assume that would have not been the first day he's coming to the city, because when he comes in the city, he's like, "What has happened here? It is so different than I remember." It's like, so this is the first day in 20 years or whatever that you've that you've decided to go trade furs and meat for some reason. I don't know. It just seemed like a weird, like, okay, I guess he's new to this town, even though he's not new to this town. Because you got to start somewhere, I guess, right? But he comes into this town, and it's like we'll say it's like a medieval kind of situation here, where there's like a castle, or not castle. Yeah, there's a castle and like castle walls, and then like the people live inside of the castle walls in like a city, right?
Yeah.
So he's got to go through like the front gate, and it's Christmas time, but the what do they call it? Like Yule time festival. That's what they call Christmas, I guess.
Yeah, I believe Yule.
Yeah, so he comes in around this time, and he's like, where is everybody? How come all the people are gone? Shouldn't the streets be all like full of life and stuff? And the barkeep in this place that he walks into is like, oh, no, like no one celebrates Yule time anymore, because by like order of the king and the Baron. There you go. Yeah, because this was like another one of those like King John or whatever from Robin Hood. It's like he's not really the king. There's a guy like in his stead. It's like the guy, Denethor or whatever from Lord of the Rings, where he's like the steward.
I was gonna say it was like Denethor, and the character himself when he comes up, he very much felt like Wormtongue. Like he's very grimy and creepy.
Yeah. That was my problem with this. It was very like by the numbers for like a Grant Morrison story too. And we'll get to the only part that didn't feel by the numbers, but yeah, like basically he just comes in, he sits down, he's like, how come this town is fucking abandoned? There's no men or anything anywhere. We find out, I can't remember if we find out right now or a little bit later, that like basically all the men are down mining. Coal is what they think they're mining, but they're actually like digging for something else that the bad guy is trying to find. So, but like everybody's like, we don't like strangers here. And so immediately like guards come in and they like try to kick him out of the city, or just say like, you're not welcome here. And while they're doing that, all of a sudden like a kid comes up and they're like, what are you doing playing on the streets? And they're playing with rocks too, right? Like it's like the only toys they have are rocks, and they're like, you're not allowed to have toys. And he's like, it's not a toy, it's a rock. He's like, that's a toy. If you can play with it, it's a toy. And then Klaus is like, well, like, hey, leave the boy alone. It's just a stone. It's not a toy. And then there's a big fight where he gets beat up by the guards. And then he gets kicked.
Lay a hand on the child, the guard guy.
Yeah, the guard hits the kid, and that's what like triggers Klaus. And then they just like bind his hands, and then like take him out to kill him outside of the city walls. But he ends up living because his big ass wolf comes and saves him.
Yeah, Lily.
Yeah, he's got a wolf named Lily, not some wimpy deer.
Not so. Yeah, she does not have a red nose either. So
no, I was waiting for that. I was like, "There's one of these wolves gonna have a red nose or some shit." But no, this Klaus has a fucking wolf, and so the wolf attacks the people, and then he's able to get away. So he's in the woods. Whatever. I think they probably report back and say like, "We killed him."
Yeah, we totally killed that guy.
Yeah, we totally killed that guy. Don't worry. Don't go out looking out for him at all. His body's totally gone. Totally eaten by wolves, if we had to guess. But then we like cut to like the castle, and inside the castle we get like the most annoying fucking kid ever, who is, I guess, the prince or whatever. I don't know, the Baron's son.
Yeah, there's the Baron, who is, I guess, also his name is Lord Magnus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's fucking like, he's like the Wormtongue, creepy and annoying. And then on top of this creepy and annoying character
We
is
got
his
Joffrey.
his equally fucking like and obviously right away I was like, oh, they not all have toys because only the prince can have toys, and he fucking like has no imagination and can't even play with his fucking toys.
Yeah, so he gets mad because he's like, they're boring, they're not doing anything, and it's like you have to make them do stuff, like by playing with them. But yeah, so basically, this was weird. Like they eventually, like the kid turns out not to be too bad. His name is Jonas, but like at the beginning, this kid is just garbage. So I don't know. That turn for me wasn't quite believable. But later on, he is not as bad, or like he becomes like okay.
I feel like kids can change if any character really has a turn of heart. Maybe not like some kids, like Joffrey obviously was a piece of shit, and the kid who wanted to throw people through the sky the sky hole.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I don't remember that kid's name, but the Vale,
Yeah.
the kid that lives
The
in
Vale
the Vale.
kid.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like I'm still drinking mother's milk at age 12.
yeah. From the teeth.
But yeah, but I don't know. He seemed like he was just kind of. I think he was just lonely because then he had his mom. They showed his mom, and his mom was very much like, I don't know if she like got.
I was gonna say his mom is also the mom in this that lives in the tower is also like pretty annoying at the beginning, and then she turns on a dime to me as well. I just chalk that up to like she's dead inside now.
That's what I figure. After so like somehow creepy guy convinced her to sleep with him and or something, and then now she's like, oh, I can't believe I did that, and I have a child with this creep, and like I am just I can't go anywhere. I'm just dead inside and to the world.
So she's kind of going along with his horribleness, and we meet her as the dad Magnus brings Jonas to dinner after he throws a little temper tantrum about toys and how no one else can have toys except me. So, then we see like everywhere else in the castle, including Jonas and Magnus, are very dark and gray and dim. And but where the mom is eating dinner, there's like a giant table with a big ass Christmas tree, and she's got red hair, so she looks a lot different than the kid. To which I was like, maybe that's not even his mom. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe she's tricked or something.
I don't fucking know. But like, she looks completely different than the son, but she acts like she's his real mom. So at least later on, because at the beginning when we first meet her, she's just like I said, dead inside, and I don't know. They're all terrible at the beginning.
Yeah, you know, very felt much like another one of those Holly ones, like the Meister Burger. Your favorite character.
Yes,
is the one that's like no toys and.
Look, it's not that I don't think we should have toys. I just think a lot of Christmas stuff is crap, and all of you people eat it up for some reason. But anyway, so we watch them eat dinner and kind of their family dynamic, where we learn they're all terrible and they all hate each other pretty much. And then we cut to the woods where the wolf and Klaus are killing a stag. And they're like, "Fuck yeah, we're gonna eat some meat tonight." And then we cut to Klaus outside making a soup that's like a healing soup, he says. That's magic. And we can see there's some what look like magical mushrooms in it. And so Klaus eats some of this healing soup. Then he pulls out a flute and he starts playing on his flute. Then all of a sudden, gets a bit wacky. Some colors start showing to him, and then, then like some alien spirits come out of the woods, and he shakes hands with the universe, or whatever the fuck you call it when you go on a big trip. And then he gets to making. He doesn't even know. He was like possessed by these spirits of the woods while he was high. He wakes up and he finds all these toys have been made. He's like, what the hell? So right here, this was the only thing in this book that I thought really felt like Grant Morrison. Because if you've ever read any of his stuff, it's always about drugs and psychedelics and stuff. So, or at least a lot of his like indie stuff is usually, or like weirder stuff. So, yeah, this was like, I was like, oh, he's throwing in like the DMT trip in the middle of this Christmas story. That's totally Grant Morrison.
I mean, I like the way that like that's how he came to make toys or whatever. Is that he's having some psychic trip? I think he was also like injured by an arrow or something. So
Right.
It'll help me heal or whatever, and it'll do more than that.
Yeah.
that.
Well, now here's the real question: are these spirits of the woods real? Are those his elves?
It was like they're his because they're tiny, right? They look like little aliens, but they're like little blue men, basically.
They're not tiny though. They're not. I mean, they're. I guess they're like little people sized.
That's what my assumption was, is that like they're tiny spirits, so like they're elf like. I don't know.
I guess
I'm trying really hard to piece this together because it is supposed to be the story of Santa Claus, roughly,
sure.
right? So,
well, I guess it's better than him owning like a bunch of little people slaves.
Yeah,
he just gets high and spirits come out of the woods and directs him how to make toys.
And then he makes a fuck ton of toys.
Yeah. I mean, they're all like 100% painted and everything. Like he spent all night and did this magical feat of making toys. So then he's like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do with these? And I guess he figures out what he's supposed to do. And that is bring these toys to the children of the city because they don't have toys. So he does that. He takes a sack of all the toys. He breaks into the city. He takes out some guards. He does he go to like every house and just drop off toys, or they don't show him like going to people's houses directly, but
no, but I mean the kids are playing with them in their house, so I assume
right later on they're playing like it's Christmas morning or some shit. So it's like, okay, I guess he went into everybody's house, like broke into everybody's house.
It was the doorsteps. That's right. He put them on their doorsteps.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so he does that, and he even defaces some of the pictures of the Baron that are around the town, and he draws a symbol that looks like a P, but it stands for what is it, joy or something like that?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's like this is the symbol for joy. And so, when people wake up in the morning, they see all these toys everywhere. There's a specific toy that he makes that's like a bird that flies. It's like a wooden bird that flies that sings. And this is significant because, like when we cut to obviously all the guards and everything are like, no, get all the toys out of the city because everybody's happy. And Magnus hears about it, and then so everybody's confiscating all the toys from the houses. And when like the little prince is like, bring all the toys to me, like I want all the toys, they're mine. So he's like a total. That's what I'm saying. Like it's like if Joffrey all of a sudden was like, I'm okay. Like I'm not such a bad guy. And it's like, but you did all this terrible shit for like years, and now everybody's like, it's okay. So, but like you said, he's they're just taking all the toys, gonna bring him to little prince guy, and one of the toys is this bird that we noticed earlier. And when the little, what's his name, Jonas, when Jonas sees this thing, he's breaking all these toys. He's like, they're all boring. I don't like these toys, mother. And, he gets all whiny about it. And he throws this bird down and it breaks. And the mom sees it and she's like, hold on a second. I know a toy like that. I've seen this kind of thing before. And she goes to a box in a room. So she goes into a room that's like maybe her quarters or whatever. She has a hidden box in there, and inside that box is an older version of this bird. And she's like, Klaus. So that's where we find out. I mean, it was pretty obvious where this was going before, but
yeah,
But
I did find that interesting because Klaus was like, woke up from that dream, like, what am I supposed to do with these toys? Like, it was the first time it happened. So
right, but like, I mean, in my mind, it wasn't that he makes toys for everybody. It's that he gave her he made her a specific toy or like a thing, like a music box or something, like same thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a toy, but whatever. So, we find out, oh, they knew each other. Then in the background, we see, everybody's been saying, okay, well, who dropped off all these toys? It must be, some spirit. All the townspeople are saying it's the spirit of Yule, the Yule spirit or whatever. And so like they get the biggest guy they find, which is named Olav, and they're like, Olav is gonna kill this spirit because obviously it's not a real spirit. Next time he comes back, Olav's gonna take him on. So pretty much immediately, he runs into Klaus like on the streets like the next night, and then they have a big fight, and Olav is not a very big challenge, we'll say. Now we should also say, I don't think we said it, but like Klaus is a very large man himself, but like more of like a slender body, like a fighter's body.
Yeah, I kind of referenced him to Conan, but Matt did not like that. He very much was like,
No,
"There's no reference."
Not that he's a reference to Conan. He said it's like if Conan was in, and I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not that at all. But
like Conan Light, okay, he's not like bedding women and like, trying to fight everybody. He's Conan that makes toys and was like a little.
So not Conan.
Softer.
Got it. Conan never made a toy. I'll say that.
Are you sure about that? You've read every Conan? I'm kidding. He probably has never
pretty
made
much
it.
have. But anyway, so like he beats Olav pretty handedly, using his wits more than his strength. But this was the only part I thought was kind of funny, because he like puts Olav upside down and then makes like a snowman out of him. So like the snowman's arms are Olav's legs. So it looked kind of funny, But when the other guards find Olav like this, they find the empty sack of toys. And so they get some dogs that are like
fucking terrifying.
Kill dogs. Yeah, I don't know what.
Blind fucking hellhounds or something.
Yeah, they're like hellhounds, but they're just regular dogs apparently. But they look pretty hardcore. The dogs immediately run after Klaus. They're on his scent or whatever. And they run to like I guess far away from everybody, all the other guards and stuff, where Klaus is running. And right when they reach Klaus, all of a sudden they start whining and stuff because Klaus's wolf Lily comes out, and they're like, "We must bow down to the wolf." Like they immediately are like, "We submit to you, wolf. You are the true wolf dog inside of us," or whatever. I don't know what the fuck they do, but. Yeah, somehow they don't try. I mean, I've seen many a movie where like wolves and dogs fight and there's no problem. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the dogs are like stand up to their wolf.
Yeah, like
maybe in this case it's because it's a big wolf. It looks a little bigger than a normal wolf, and maybe it's also because usually the wolves that stand up to the dogs that stand up to the wolves in movies are like fighting for the good guy. And so they're the bad wolves, so they're like they have to cower and run.
Sure, why not?
I'm just saying for story purposes, that's the only thing I can think of.
Sure. Well, the dogs come back and they're like, "What the fuck? I thought your dogs were badass. They ain't shit." And they're like, the men are like immediately like, "Well, they must have had a wolf because only dogs cower to wolves or whatever." And it's like, okay, I guess that's a thing that I didn't know about. But now Klaus, like they're like, "We're gonna tell everybody to lock all the doors and we're gonna have patrols." So there's no way that Klaus will be able to get inside of these houses. But then we cut to Klaus on top of the roofs and we see there's all these chimneys everywhere. So he can drop toys down the chimneys, to which I was like, aren't the chimneys lit and on? Like, I get he's not going down there, but like if he drops toys into the fire, I would think.
Yeah, they're all gonna. Yeah, I would think there's no central air, so all of these chimneys are probably being used.
Yeah, it's winter, so all of these chimneys are being used 100%. So it's not like if he's dropping them and it's like in the morning, then they're like embers maybe, but still it would just burst into flames or whatever. But we also see like in the background all the dads and men of this town are like the miners that are basically on 24-hour schedules. They all look like very gaunt and skinny, like they're not being fed a lot. And they're all also like going crazy by like hearing some kind of voice in the darkness where they're mining. We don't know what they're mining for exactly, other than I think they mentioned coal a couple times. But but in reality, there's something else going on. We haven't found that out yet, but um, we we once that's done, then we see Klaus back in the woods, and he gets high again, plays the flute again. This time, it seems like the dog gets high as well, because it's seeing the spirits as well, and the spirits come out of the
The
woods.
mushrooms.
Exactly. Um, and so, yeah, that's the way of the book telling us he's making more presents, basically, more toys. So, um, and then in the background, now finally we get revealed what's going on with Magnus. There's been hinting that they're mining for something, but we see Magnus go get a book and go into one of the tunnels where they're mining, and he just starts talking to one of the corners of the cave, and he's like, "I'm here. I've done everything you've asked." Like, so obviously there's something in this rock. It's talking to him. It's telling him to free it, and stupidly he's listening. I don't know. I mean, he's like, I will be a king over this land once you are arisen. And it's like, that's not usually how it works, buddy. Like, if you free an ancient demon or something, it's not going to be like, yeah, I'll let you be king. But he's a little slow, we'll say. But yeah, so I don't know. We get that. We learn about, his, like, what's motivating him besides just like greed or being a king is like this. There's this other ancient bad thing happening, and then also like the all of a sudden the next, I don't know if it's the next day or whatever, but like maybe later that day, I guess Klaus is done making presents. He's back in the town. He's ringing the church bell. Everybody that was in church comes outside and they see that symbol that means joy, like carved into the snow, and they're like, "Oh my god!"
His big daredevil symbol in the snow.
Exactly. If
That's what it
only,
made me
if
think
only he lit it on fire, that would be fucking awesome. But yeah, he starts swinging all around town, just like Spider-Man, but with ropes and shit. Because he's like pulling all the bells and ringing everything, and then he like goes into one of these castle areas, and there's like a dead giant Christmas tree there. And he's like, "Remember me. I cut live wood from your branches once, dead tree. I made a symbol." And then like, so obviously there's some kind of thing. We don't know what it is yet, but obviously, like we said before, he used to be in this town, but he hasn't been in it for a long time, when all this started. So I guess when he was here last, that tree was alive and everything. But he cuts it down. He lights it on fire. He throws it in like the town square and almost hits Magnus with it. And then I guess he uses that as a distraction to go waken, or to go talk to the queen, or I don't know. She's not queen, but whatever the fuck she is. I don't, the Baroness. Yeah. So then we get all the backstory, right? Then we cut from, sorry, excuse me. Then we cut from all of that story, like right in the middle of it, like he sees the queen and she's like, "Oh my God, Klaus." And then we cut to what happened between them back in the day. So we see Klaus was a baby that was found in the snow where his mom was clutching onto him. His mom was frozen in the snow, and I guess the king found him. Is that what someone found him that's like maybe part of like the king's court or something. They find him. They bring the baby back. They raise him as like, a kid in the castle. And so he would hang out with the noble people and whittle shit, as a kid, and like make little figurines and stuff. And then he was friends with the princess. Well, I guess she is the princess, right? Because she's like related to the old king. Is that correct?
I guess so. That if not the princess, then she's definitely like, she's definitely part of like a royal family. Which I mean, Baroness would be. She would be like would it be like a cousin
I don't
of
know.
it. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
no
know.
royalty.
I don't know what these fucking royals are about, but
I'm just a
anyway.
peasant. So
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I'm an American. We don't have royalty here other than rich people. Uh, so yeah, anyway, he's friends with, this girl, this young girl who ends up being the Baroness. And, he whittles her a bird when her bird dies. And, that's how they become friends. So like, yeah, we just learn about that. And then we cut back to present day where he's coming through the window and she's like holding onto an alarm rope and she's like, I'll pull it, if you come any closer. And he's like, but why? Like, it's me, it's Klaus. It's your old lover or whatever. I don't know if they were ever lovers, but like they were keen on each other. We'll say that. As like young kids, but she doesn't pull the bell, but there's obviously something between them that like went bad because they're not friends now. But we find out that because like as he gets close to her, she's like he's like, I came back to see you, and she's like, but you killed my father. So she slaps him. We find out. We cut back to another flashback where a young Klaus is out with some people riding in the snow, and it turns out that the king was sick, and the young boy Magnus was like, why don't you drink your wine, king? I got some wine for you. It's medicine. And then he gives, it's not the king, I guess, but Lord Ulrich. I don't know. He's a lord. So young Magnus gives Lord Ulrich this poison, it turns out to be, and he dies, and that was the father of the Baroness. And somehow they don't quite explain how this happened, but basically while Klaus and all these other knights or whatever are out, I guess killing wolves, because there's been like wolf attacks. And this is actually where Klaus gets his wolf. Is there's a cub wolf, and he gets pity on it, and he like doesn't kill it, and then that's where his wolf cub comes from. But while they're out, I guess Magnus is able to convince everybody that Klaus was the one who poisoned him. He's like, look, I found all these mushrooms and shit in his bag. It's obviously Klaus that killed the king or the lord or whatever. And so everybody believes him, and he doesn't like try to like defend himself at all, which is interesting. But
well, I mean, I think it's assumed, they wrap him up and he's resisting there. So I think it's assumed that he did. But whoever
yeah, why did he say no? No, I didn't. That would also help. Maybe
he could have, I guess. But I think they're just trying to influence that Magnus has a lot of like weight,
influence
in his words. So
yeah, so everybody believes Magnus, even her. And then I guess there's like some time in between I guess maybe there was a trial or something, like a show trial that they put him on. Because the next time we see him, he's being put to death by being brought out, and he's going to be killed in the snow and left to die like by wolves. But then when the wolf comes out, it's like the cub that he saved. And then the cub is big now. So it must have been months. I don't know how long they held him. But now the wolf is full grown, or at least mostly grown. And so it lays on top of him and saves him from dying in the snow. And I guess ever since then, he's been a woodsman, and that's where he's been living. That's why I was like, well, why did he decide now to sell some meat and stuff in the city that he was like banished from?
Because now he realizes, well, maybe I can't live without money. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so he tells her finally, like, I didn't kill him. I didn't kill your dad. And she believes him this time. And he's like, oh, before I leave, like, I made something for your son. Maybe it'll change his heart or some shit. I don't know. He hands her what looks like a transformer or something.
Yeah, it's very futuristic. I thought it was General Grievous.
Yeah, it looks like General Grievous or maybe
Four
one of like
arms.
the weird cricket people from John Carter of Mars or something.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, like it's basically a transformer, and she's like, my son hates toys, but maybe he'll like this one. And then like Klaus leaves, and then she gives him this toy.
But I want to say I love we turn the page and the son is Gallaghering his fucking toys. He's just got this giant
Yeah, he's got a big mallet
wooden hammer.
and he's just smashing all these toys. And he's like, so
Good for
where's the
nothing toys,
magic?
they don't work.
Yeah, these toys fucking suck. And so the mom comes in and is like, well, I have a toy for you. And like, maybe we'll do this together. And so she sits down and I guess instead of not paying attention to him, she decides to try to play with him with this new toy. And at first he's like, okay, I'm gonna kill it. And then like he's playing with it, but it's like he's playing like he grabs it like he's a giant and he's like, I'm gonna kill you and teach you a lesson. And then the mom's like, well, if you kill it, like then you'll be bored again and the story's over. So like, what if a dragon came and then it rode the dragon away from the giant? And then like, she's trying to get the kid to play. And like, that's all the kid needs. All of a sudden he's like, this is pretty fun, Mom.
Oh,
and
he just needed a good mother to like play with him.
Yeah, he just needed like a parent to pay attention to him and not just throw him in a room full of toys that don't mean anything.
Go in here and play with your toys and leave me alone.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
I'm married to this worthless, creepy, your dad.
Yeah. His name's Magnus, but he's not very Magnus, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so, and right when they start playing and like you see the hardness of the sun disappear, Magnus comes home and is like, what are you doing? Playing, boy? It's time for you to be a man. Then we like, I don't remember what happens then, but we cut to the mines where like there seems to be a revolt happening because all these people are like dying in the mine. And they're all going crazy because they can hear something say, free me, like in the rocks. And like all the miners are going crazy, and that's why they like want to have a revolt or whatever. Then we cut to, I guess, the head of the guard.
Yeah.
He's like, man, keeping this town in check is real hard. And like he was in the mines and saw like all these people freaking out and stuff. And I think he might have even heard the voice. So he's like, something's going on. I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy now. So he comes home after a hard day of beating slaves, I guess. And he goes into his house and someone's sitting in his chair, and it turns out it's Klaus. And it turns out he knew Klaus. And he's like, oh my God, it's you. And then we cut back to Magnus, who he had a plan for his son. He's like, I'm going to make you a man now, son. And, but he needed a child specifically for his plan, which is his son is going to write a letter to Santa to ask him for something very special. Which I was like, how does Santa get this letter? Did they show how Santa got this letter, John?
I think no, I don't think
it ends up in his hands. I just don't know how. They don't really explain how the letter gets to him. He doesn't have a mailbox that they're mailing it to or anything. But basically, the kid writes a letter to Santa. But automatically, like we said, like the kid is now good because the mom played with him for like 5 minutes. And so he's like, after he's done doing that, he's like, Mom, I think Dad made me trick Santa and we're going to hurt the Yuletime spirit. And like, Mom's like, what? Like, what else did your father have you do? And like, she's good now too, obviously. And then the dad comes out and he's got some like badass sword. Like he comes out of a doorway. And he's like, I'm here, like, check this shit out. And he's got this big-ass sword that he can't lift, which I didn't quite understand why this sword was here. Did you understand?
No.
Okay, they don't give this sword any significance other than right here is the first time I saw it.
He's just got it.
He's got a big sword that he's never been able to lift, but now he's starting to be able to lift it, and it's all because of this. He attributes it to the strength that he's getting from this like being that he's going to free from the caves of the mines, and so he's like, finally, I'm getting the strength. In the meantime, Klaus is still going out that night and delivering presents, and then, like we said, somehow he gets this letter. I don't know how, but he, in his last drop off to that night, he brings a present, and it turns out that where the kid is like the kid is like, "Dear Santa, I want a pony, and I want you to bring it to this back corner of the mines where I am being held, and make sure you close the door behind you so no one else sees you." Or like very like obviously this is a trap, but he does not pick up on that. And so like they set a trap for him, and it works, and they capture him. And so, yeah, I mean, there's like a big fight or whatever. And then I guess they don't capture him immediately. They shoot him with arrows. That's what it was. They shoot him with arrows, and they're like poisoned arrows. That was it, right? They were like,
yeah,
like the guy was like, "Oh, I'm going to get him with poison arrows." So all the arrows like are poison. And as he's escaping the town and all the guards, he gets shot with a bunch of poison arrows. Luckily for him, when he gets out of the town,
he does get pulled out of town by that boy that got punched in the first.
Yes. So that like he gets shot by the arrows, and then the boy's like outside. He's like, "I'll help you because you helped me." So he takes a sled. He pulls Klaus out to his house. I guess he knows where Klaus lives, or Klaus is like, awake enough to be like, keep going north or whatever. And so, the kid takes him back to his house, which is lucky for him. And luckily there's a bunch of like poison curing roots and stuff there. And so as he's like recovering in his house, the boy and the wolf are outside, and they think they see lights. And they're like, "Oh, is that like the spirits that Klaus was talking about?" But it turns out, no, these are the poison arrows again, and they're flying, and they shoot the wolf. And then it turns out Magnus basically followed them there. And they just knock him out, right? And then they like burn down his house.
Yeah, they knock him out, set his house on fire. He's like, "Yeah, we got you. You got your pretty little wolf, your little lady wolf,
and your little dog too." That's what.
Yeah.
And so then they like tie him to the ice, I guess, and like basically they like put him in like a Vitruvian man pose on the ice and like tie his wrists and legs down. And he watches his house burn. And then also, so like they kidnap the kid, they bring the kid back to the city, and they throw him in like the prison where all the other kids are, I guess. And they're fat. Like when he goes in there, they're all eating like candies and sweetbreads, and they're like, "Wait, why are you eating all this like sugary stuff?" And then the kid's like, "Wait, he's fattening us up for something." I guess because it's Yuletide. But yeah, so I mean, this is the first time they've mentioned it, but I guess they're gonna eat. The kids are gonna get eaten by whatever is coming for Yuletide. So then we cut to the mines, and we see the mines finally, whatever rift needed to be hit was hit, and the walls start to crack, and we see a big red eye appear in that crack, and something begins to rise from the mines, and then it's immediately like, "I want to eat children." And in the meantime, I guess the king, like we said earlier, it's like kind of like this Robin Hood situation where there's like Little John on the throne, but the king is away and he's going to return. So the king returns? Is that what? Or at least the king's men arrived before him?
Yeah, the king's men arrived before him, and I guess he's still coming. He was like a day or two out or something.
Okay, so some knights come and they're like, "Hey, we're the precursor to the king. What the fuck is going on in this town? Magnus, you fucked everything up." And then Magnus is like, well, why did you come to this feast? And then they go into like the main courtyard room or whatever, where there's a big feast that's about to happen. And then as they're like, what is this feast for? All of a sudden, this giant Krampus, I guess is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, Krampus creature.
It's like a goat-headed demon thing, but it looks kind of like Krampus. And it's like, I want to eat children, and it's got like a fiery club, and it's murdering people and everybody in this place. So then we cut back to Klaus, who's on the ice, and he's dying, from cold. And his wolf comes up and starts kissing him, and the wolf itself has like poison arrows in it. And Klaus is like, don't be scared. The song. Do you remember the song? And then the wolf begins to howl. And all of a sudden, psychedelic colors come out. And I don't know exactly what happens. Do you know what happens, John?
Yes, I think that now we learn the true nature that these creatures are beings of like higher intelligence or something. I don't know. I have no idea what the fuck happens.
They're from the fifth dimension.
Yeah, they turn from like their little weird, creepy, like blue alien-esque things, and then I don't know. I thought first it seems like they went inside of him, but then they reappear and they're like weird, multi-dimensional, like Rubik's weird creatures, and they're holding these stones with runes on them, and they're like, "We will make you better." And
we don't know what the fuck, but they throw the stones on him, and he does not die. In fact, he becomes immortal.
Yes.
I don't know what happens, and I dare you to tell me what happens either.
No, I assume that we get into that in the next one because I saw that there was more of these, but like, yeah, I was like, what the fuck? And the wolf brought this on with the song. So I don't know if...
Yeah, it wasn't even psychedelics this time. It was like, maybe the wolf is so good at singing and howling that he made it all psychedelic or something. That's the only thing I can think. Or she, I don't know. Its name is Lily, so maybe it's a she. But either way, he is now Super Klaus. He is the Santa Claus now. And so then we cut back to the town where everybody's being murdered by this thing. And this is where Magnus realizes that he's been a fucking idiot, because he's like, all right, like you're killing everybody, like that's great, but when do I get to be king? And the thing's like, what are you talking about? I'm gonna fucking murder everything, including you. I was using you, you dumbass. And so it turns on Magnus, and Magnus realizes, oh shit, I made a mistake. Although he doesn't realize that, it just looks like he kind of realizes, oh, I'm fucked. But then later on, he kind of is still an idiot, but then we see the mom grab an arrow, and she saves her son, because the demon's like, oh, I'm going to eat your son because I eat children who are bad specifically. And he's like, no, you can't eat my son. He's the prince or whatever. And the thing's like, well, I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to eat kids. Right. So that's why that's when he realizes, oh shit, like this thing doesn't work for me. It tricked me. So, basically it starts trying to go after the kids that were getting fattened up, eating sweets. And the dad of the kid, who's like a miner.
He was of the kid who got punched initially.
Yeah, and who saved Klaus from poison arrows. That kid's dad has a pickaxe. He attacks this demon thing and stops it initially from hurting the children, and then it turns out he's not good enough. So as it's like running down the streets trying to kill the kids, all of a sudden fucking Klaus comes up in his chariot that's being driven by wolves now.
His fucking futuristic, crazy, psychedelic colored, like chariot.
It's like a geometric chariot or something.
Yeah. And then, he's got all the wolves. Well, I guess we kind of saw there were other wolves being called when Lily was calling. But then, so all the wolves are like pulling his thing now. Instead of reindeer, it's crazy fucking big, gigantic white wolves.
Yeah, and then we literally have a panel where he jumps off the sled at the demon, and he jumps like fucking McConaughey in rain of fire
Yes.
with 2 knives at this demon, and he fucking stabs it. They have a big fight. Seems to be going good, like he's gonna win. And then all of a sudden, Magnus comes out with his big sword that is magic or something. I don't fucking know. And he stabs Klaus right through the midsection, right through the back. And it doesn't do anything, though. Like, he thinks it hurts him, but then Klaus is fine. And it's weird. And then Magnus is like, you owe me. I killed him. And then he gets burned alive by the monster.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you get what you deserve.
Yeah. And, so there's not much. I mean, like, I don't know why or how, but basically Klaus lives. He heals.
Yeah, I guess it really doesn't do anything. He can't be killed, right? That was kind of the thing about the rocks, is that I guess he's immortal.
Yeah, I guess. So, he's immortal. Then, like, the wife takes up the sword and tries to protect her son. And then, sorry if you could hear the dog. There's a dog barking, of course. So, don't know where that's coming from, but it's not my dog. That's all I know. It must be the neighbor's dog. But anyway, so Klaus comes over to her and he's like, no, babe, I'll take it from here. I'll save your son. And then
I love that all of it. I was just going to say, I love all of a sudden the fucking Krampus creature has like a sled that pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's got a sled, and it's also got like hellhounds that are pulling its sled. And I don't know. It didn't make much sense of how any of this was happening or why. But basically, Klaus has a big fight with it and chops off the big demon's head.
Yeah, but it's because there are no bad children.
Yes.
As he jumps to defeat him.
That's his yippee-ki-yay motherfucker, I guess. And then the sled comes crashing down to Earth, and then Klaus is good, and he's got the boy. He saved the boy, and the kid's like, Mom, and everybody's happy. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Everybody's happy. And then he like erects a tree into the middle of the town again. And then
they dance, and then he's like, I'm totally gonna fuck your mom later.
Yeah. We're totally gonna bone. And then we see like them, like the mom and him, like he stays young the whole time, but the mother gets older and she's with him the whole time, and then she dies. And then we see an older Jonas at the funeral, and he gives a toy bird to Klaus. And yeah, then he rides off with his...
Thanks, Klaus.
Yeah, Klaus rides off into the sunset with his dog, with his wolf.
Yes, and I love that his wolf rides in the thing with it. It's not pulling the sleigh. Like you would think, like his wolf would be like the lead wolf, like a reindeer,
no,
or a Rudolph or something. Nope. Lily is special, and she gets to ride in the cabin while the other dogs do the work.
Yeah, it's like
better wolves.
It's like Goofy and Pluto, right? One of them's a dog, and one of them's a person dog.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that's how it ends. Just, they all lived happily ever. And from this, we're supposed to get that is where our myth of Santa Claus came from, I assume?
Yep, that's Santa. All that's right. The Santa Claus that we all know and love.
Obviously. Yeah, obviously we all know this tale of Santa Claus. So, John, what did you think? What would you give it?
Tale as old as time. It was fun. I liked it. It wasn't it was different, and like I said, it felt like this was like a specific, like it's Cinder Close, or Topo Shisho. It's like a specific areas.
Yeah.
Santa Claus. So like in that essence,
Papa Noel.
Papa Noel, yeah, exactly. So it felt like that to me. Like, this is like one tale of Santa Claus, and it's like the Nordic kind of badassy tale of like the Santa Claus that like fucking like fought a demon and like brought sweetness and joy to Christmas when it otherwise dark time. And so I mean, like, it was fun, and I enjoyed the art, especially the trippy art. Like it. The beginning trippy art was really cool. I did not fucking understand what happened at the end when it became, like you said, like
geometric shapes and
geometrics. Shit. Yeah, like I don't know what the
They're
fuck.
They're fifth dimensional beings. That's why.
Yeah. before all of that, I really did enjoy it. Again, I just still enjoyed the art, but it definitely like it took me for a loop at the end. I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" The ending felt kind of like overly complicated and rushed.
Yeah, it
But
was
not
all like
as
one issue. All of a sudden, everything had to be like wrapped up in a bow, and like all these things that were. Oh yeah, we forgot to kind of mention all these intricate background detail things.
and I have to say this was 7 issues, so they should have just made it 8 at that point to like
Yeah, you might as
that's
well, right?
yeah like because seven's also kind of an odd one. Usually it's like 5 or 6, and then if it's not at that, it's usually like 8 or 10, right? To
Uh
get a
huh.
whole. So yeah, 7 seemed odd. So it seemed like they maybe I don't know. Maybe we don't know. Maybe they were like, "Now this is going to be the last one, guys." So wrap it up. So maybe they had to cram a lot in there. But yeah, it definitely like it started off. What I felt was kind of strong as far as like a whimsical tale, but then the ending was just like fucking bonkers.
Right.
But like I said, overall I enjoyed it, and I really did like the art. So I'm gonna say overall, I didn't. I don't know if I would come back to it, and I don't know if I necessarily care about reading on, but I still had fun with it. Like right, like it's a holiday tale. That's why I read it, because it was for the holidays. So yeah, so I'm gonna give this. I don't think it's hush level. I think it's a little, just a tiny bit. So I'm gonna say 5.5.
Wow, you think this is better than Hush? Okay, interesting. Uh, I did not like this book. This whole book was like pulling teeth for me to read. Except the art was great. Oh, the art was fantastic. But the whole time I'm like, why did Grant Morrison write this? It doesn't need to be written. Like, I felt like
I
I've read this before millions of times, just in different versions.
Grant Morrison, I know you, and you're better than this.
Yeah, you're better than this. Or at least weirder than this. You know what I mean? He threw in like a little bit of weird stuff, but I feel like he could have gone to another level with this like basic story. I don't know. I just felt like I knew exactly what was going to happen before it happened. This whole book, except the aliens in the woods, becoming geometric life forms and laying stones on him, and then him resurrecting or whatever and becoming immortal. Other than that, that's very Grant Morrison, and I would have liked more of that in this. But yeah, other than that, I was like, I could pretty much tell you what's going to happen with every character. So before it happens, and yeah, I don't know. It was very by the numbers for me. I don't know. I don't like it. This is why I don't like many Christmas things, because they're all the same thing, just slightly different versions of the same thing being told over and over and over and over and over. And yeah, this one even had like less tied to like Christmas stuff too. So, or at least the Christmas stuff we know. So
Yeah, it was. It definitely felt only loosely based within Christmas. That's for sure.
right. So I don't know. I'm gonna give this a 4. You said like you would have liked it to be 8 issues, but I was like, thank God it was only 7. It was hard for me to read through this. Like I had to force myself for like the first 4 issues to like, okay, you got to read it. We're doing it for the podcast. So, like I said, the art is great. I mean, Dan Mora's art is really good, but I just didn't care about any of the
Gotta do it for the pod.
things.
Gotta do it for the
Yeah,
pod. Keep reading.
exactly. Keep reading. So, yeah, I did not think this was as good as Hush. The story was weak as fuck and weaker than Hush. Like Hush has some holes in it, but this actually had more holes. I'm like, why is he dropping presents down chimneys now? Like, we all know these are fires, right? Like that warm houses. So
Hey, I'll give that to you. And like we have different grading scales for different. That's why we make a good balance.
sure,
I like things. I like most things a little more than you usually, but not always. We have some. We have had some
yeah, that's
some
true.
rarities.
But yeah, I mean,
But
I fully expected you to like this because it's Christmas and you like Christmas stuff.
yeah,
But for me, it's a 4. For you, it's a 5.5. So that's not that far off. But I would much rather read Hush than this any day. So
well,
yeah.
I tell you what. Let us know what y'all think of this one too as we go through. Is this one you would want to go back and read, or did you feel the same way as Matt? Do you feel closer to me? And maybe on future holiday ones, instead of doing like full holiday for the whole month, like we kind of did again, if we want to break from that tradition, we'll start doing that. I am a firm on the line of like, I love to read and or watch holiday-esque things around the holidays. Matt is bah humbug, and I love him for that. And so,
Yes.
so yeah, let us know what y'all thought. We appreciate patrons for voting. If you want to sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. That's one of the benefits. You get to vote on our second issue every month. It is our Patreon voted issue or episode, pardon me. And then they also get an exclusive one every month, which this month for the holidays, we decided it's the holidays, we're going to let everybody have this one. But
yeah, we're giving this one away.
Yeah, but usually it is also a Patreon exclusive.
Yes, and for that we're doing 2 Hellboy issues, both holiday focused, and those should be pretty fun. We're also that's gonna release like pretty much the same day this one does. So go check that out on our Patreon, patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books. And speaking of our Patreon, let's thank our patrons: Hoku, Otaku, Mike, Christian, Matthew, Kyla, Joseph, and Kalia. And you guys are awesome. We actually, thanks to you guys, we got John a Christmas gift that he will soon be using, which is he got a new mic.
Yes,
for recording.
We've heard that. It's not that you don't like my voice, but my microphone makes it not great sometimes. So
yes,
we'll be upgrading that probably right after the new year. So yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, patrons. You have allowed us to get some better audio for John, since we are recording these, away from each other most of the time. So yeah, if you once again would like to become a Patreon, patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. And with that, I think we'll see you guys on the next one.
On the next one, happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye.